Hello, in this video we're going to cover some of the examples that we did in class, but I'm also going to show you how you can avoid some more errors in your programs. And so I have some of the code that we did in class. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to paste it into my program. Notice I pasted it right after in my main method, but I have a conflict. And that conflict is what I pasted in has a different class name and a different main method. So you can go ahead and delete that extra class and extra public static void main. When you do that, you might then have an issue at the end of your code because we just deleted two things that had beginning curly braces, so I have two ending curly braces here I have to delete. This is also a reminder that maybe you want to do end of class for a comment there. The end of main comment that we put in is going to fall here. And so I place all of my functions or all of my methods between the end of main and the end of the class. Please note, if you watch some online videos, you might also see people place them here between the beginning of the class and the beginning of main. Either place is fine. You can also place methods here. It doesn't matter in Java where you place them, as long as they are outside of main method and inside the class. So now I've got that kind of set up, and I can go ahead and execute this code just to see if my code is running. This was a code that we kind of established in class, and so the code is running. When you guys go to take a screenshot of your code executing, what I would love to have is just basically this execution window here. I don't need to see everything because you are going to download this file, and you download it, remember, by doing right-click download. Okay? All right, so now we have our working program. Just a few quick things to kind of review and summarize some of the in-class concepts that we did today. Number one, when you guys are, notice I did some like rearranging and stuff, and my code formatting doesn't look necessarily right. I can right-click and I can format the document, and it prettifies it, is what we call that. Number two, when you pass values to a method. So in this particular example, I'm calling the find sum method, and this is how it would have looked for me to start with, is I'm sending it 4 and 5. Our IDE automatically fills in a corresponding variables. I is going to be 4, and J is going to be 5. The names of these variables here, I and J, are going to match. In this particular example, they match our parameter names. The values of 4 and 5 are arguments. 4 and 5 are actual values that we send, and those are what we call arguments. And those arguments are sent to the method, and they come into the method as parameters. And so when we run this code down here, we have the parameters are I and J. Parameters are the placeholders for the values that we send in. In the second call or method invocation, so in this particular code here, we have a method invocations, or what I call method calls. Method calls, remember in your Xi books, you saw a method call, went out to the method, ran the code, and then came back to the main driver. That's what happens here. Anytime you have the name of the method and then its arguments that you're sending, you are calling the method or you are invoking the method. And so we have a second method invocation here, and it's sending in the A values that are stored in A and B. Now they happen to be the same as 4 and 5, but I could change these to be, something different, and then we could be sending a different value into the method. And then the sum would no longer be 9. In this case, it would be 10. If I execute this again, the reason our output would be 10 is I use find sum with 4 and 5, and I assign it to sum, and then I replace it right away because I make a second call. So this one is a method invocation, and it is using variables. So when you use the variables, notice the IDE doesn't fill in that IJ, or that doesn't fill in the corresponding parameters. Anything that shows up in gray here, and you'll also notice it in some of our output statements, then like right here, the X colon is filled in. Those are, they're called inline parameters, and coders can use them. We're not going to deal with them. They're not going to hurt your code. You can just basically ignore them, okay? And you don't have to type them in. Don't try to type them in. Don't try to delete them, okay? Now, when we go to create a method, remember in class we created a method find product, and we did a method find sum. Well, let's just do one more, and I'm going to create a difference. So we are going to find a difference, and actually I'm going to do this as a double. And so difference is going to be the difference between two values. Whenever I create a variable, I always initialize it to 0. That is my way of handling variables. It's just my habit that I do, and it's actually a pretty good habit to give a default value to a variable. And we get the squiggly lines because we haven't used that variable. And so I'm going to do a similar lines of code here. I'm going to copy and paste can be your friend. So we're going to paste that. And then I'm going to start, and I'm going to say I'm going to do difference. And then I'm going to create a method called find difference. Now I haven't created this method yet. And then I'm going to change my label and then what I output. So I've got several things kind of going on here that I just did really quick. And so number one, you'll see the squiggly lines disappeared here because now I'm using that variable difference. I have a new squiggly line though that says, hey, this isn't defined, and you can let your IDE do a quick fix. This doesn't always work. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. You can have the IDE do a quick fix. I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to show you why I maybe don't want it to work here, or don't want it to work as the way it's defined, for the following reason. I notice I declared this as a double, and so I'm going to then create some additional variables, and I'll just call them num1 as a double. And I don't know if I can assign it a value there or not. Let's see if I can do that. I don't know if I can do, if I declare as a double, I can do it if I do it on one line, but I think I have to do them on separate lines. So I have num1 and num2 are now declared, and I'm going to, num1 is going to be 600 and num2 is going to be 55. Now they are also declared as doubles, and you could put the 0.0 in there, but the compiler is going to know that it's a double, whether you put the 0.0 in there or not. Now if you declare it as a float, then remember that you would have to put the F on the end. But I'm using doubles, which is another form of a float. It just holds twice as much memory space, and that's why it's called a double. So then when I do the difference, what I want to really do is send in num1 and num2. And this is going to also show you why maybe a quick fix isn't what you want to do all the time. Num2 and num1, if I take a look at this method, that it created a method stub for me, is what we call this, a method stub. It says auto-generated stub. It will throw an error message if you don't write this code. It's a stub because it's just a template, and basically what it does is it creates this what we call the signature for the method. So the signature is going to be private or public, and either one will work for this particular coding that we are doing right now. Private and public have to deal with the access level we allow people. And at this point, because you're the programmer, you have access to both, so it doesn't matter whether you make it private or public here, okay? So I'm going to leave it because it will work there. And then static means that it's a standalone method, and so it means that we don't have to have a class object to use the method. And so it's kind of like you don't have to have a bank account to deposit money. Well, that wouldn't make sense in the real world, but that's basically what we're saying here is I don't have to create an object to be able to use these methods. I don't have to create a a numbers object in order to use these methods. Another example of why we are using static as a standalone method is if I have avatars in a game, I don't have to create an avatar to use some of the methods that are available in a game. Now, you know that, well, you might want to be able to create the avatar, but we don't have to. That's an over talk on static. Right now, just know you have to put the word static in and go with it, okay? Doubles are return type, and so whenever we do these auto stubs, I'm going to hit delete, and then I always put in right away what I'm going to return something, and I got to return a double, so I'm going to put 0.0. I'm going to change that up in a few minutes, but what I want to change here is the fact that I am no longer sending in an integer, so I have to change this to double. I have to match my signature with the values that are being sent in. And so now I'm going to change that to double. And I don't know if you noticed, but there was a squiggly line here just a minute ago. Let me put int back in there so you can kind of see what's going on here. When I put int back in, and if I hover over this, learning how to read these error messages are going to be critical. This says the method find difference double comma int in the type KO is not applicable for the arguments double double. So the compiler is saying, hey, num1 and num2 are both doubles. You need to send them to a double double. So you have to change this to a double. So now my method will work, and then what am I going to return is the difference between those, and so I'm going to just return a minus b, and that will be the difference. And if we execute our code, then we should get the sum, the product, and the difference. So that's just a little bit of review over some of the topics that we talked about in class. It doesn't cover everything. I guess I could do one more quick example. If I copy this code and then I paste it, and if I make this an int and an int, that's going to return a double. That is possible. Here's what I want to then show you. I'm going to create a new variable. The first one was differences with a double, and now I'm going to do int, and I'll do difference integer, and so I've got this variable. So instead of doing, so I'm basing this based on a data type, and I'm going to copy and paste this code, and we are going to show you a quick example of, well, actually, so now I've got this method, and it's called find difference. The method is named the same, find difference and find difference. So if you notice, I have the exact same name. When I call find difference here, I want to send it integers. So the first one handles doubles, and the second one handles integers. But I use the same name for the method. This is called method overloading. And so when I use the same name to do similar activities, but maybe with different data types, then I get, or I have, what's called method overloading. And so I have two differences, and I don't know what I typed in to get 0. So a minus b is 0. What's a and b? A is 4, b is 6. So why is a minus b 0? So this is, something's not right here, because it should be outputting, oh, that's because I did not use the right variable name here. So, and then it should call find difference. Oh, so difference integer is an integer. My error message here is that type mismatch. It cannot convert double to int. When I did my find difference here using integers, I needed to also tell it to return an integer. So now when I run the code, we should get this to work appropriately. So you gotta watch all those different data types and things, but that gives you just a little bit of overview and just some more examples of working with some methods and covering some of the topics that we covered this week in class.